Almost everything you order online spends part of its journey in the belly of a cargo plane. But those planes are disappearing faster than anyone can build new ones. The fleet is aging, the factories are backed up, the engines simply are not there. And after a deadly crash wiped out one of the last old workhorses overnight, the cargo industry is staring down a shortage it cannot buy its way out of. On November 4th, 2025, UPS Flight 2976 accelerated down the runway at Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. Seconds after liftoff, the McDonnell Douglas MD-11's left engine and its entire mounting pylon sheared completely off the wing. The aircraft veered left, rose only a few dozen feet, and impacted an industrial complex. The crash killed all 3 crew members and 12 people on the ground. Within 4 days, the Federal Aviation Administration issued Emergency Airworthiness Directive 2025-23-51, grounding the trijet worldwide for immediate inspections of its aft mount bearings. What began as an accident investigation quickly transformed into a sudden structural retirement. Rather than pay for expensive retrofits on a design with recurring mechanical vulnerabilities, UPS permanently retired its entire fleet of 26 MD-11 freighters, taking a $137 million write-off. The FAA's grounding also pulled rival FedEx and specialist carrier Western Global into its scope, forcing them to park their own fleets. Overnight, more than 35% of the world's operational MD-11 cargo capacity vanished from the skies. The old workhorses of global logistics did not phase out gradually. Instead, a single catastrophic mechanical failure and the regulatory response that followed stripped them from the network in an instant. The loss of these trijets revealed a weakness that had been building across the global logistics network for decades. The air cargo industry does not run on young aircraft. Data from the International Air Transport Association shows that the average age of the global dedicated freighter fleet is approaching 19.6 years. This is significantly older than the passenger airline average, which hovers around 13 years. For decades, cargo operators deferred the massive capital expenses of purchasing new aircraft, opting instead to perform heavy maintenance and life extensions. This practice caused the global fleet to concentrate heavily in the 20 to 30-year age range. Now that strategy has reached a physical dead end. Atlas Air, the world's largest dedicated freighter lessor, recently warned that approximately 120 wide-body cargo planes, representing roughly 20% of the global wide-body fleet, are already over 30 years old. These aircraft face mandatory, unavoidable retirement over the next 5 to 10 years. Severe metal fatigue, rising maintenance requirements, and poor fuel efficiency make further life extensions economically and structurally impossible. The industry is fast approaching a retirement cliff, where hundreds of wide-body freighters will age out of service, leaving a massive capacity deficit that cannot easily be replaced. Buying brand new freighters to replace aging fleets is no longer a simple transaction. Only 2 final assembly lines in the world are currently building dedicated, factory-fresh wide-body freighters: the Boeing 767-300F and the larger 777F. This narrow pipeline is about to contract even further, as Boeing is scheduled to end 767F production permanently in 2027. Next-generation alternatives remain years away. Airbus is assembling prototypes of its new A350F in Toulouse, but that aircraft is not expected to join commercial operations until late 2027. Meanwhile, Boeing's own future wide-body cargo jet, the 777-8F, has faced regulatory and development delays that pushed its debut out to 2028. The International Air Transport Association reports a global delivery deficit of nearly 5,300 aircraft compared to pre-pandemic trends, a massive supply gap that began in 2018 and is projected to last into the next decade. Yet the primary choke point is not the airframe structures themselves. The real gatekeepers of production output are engine manufacturers: Pratt & Whitney, Rolls-Royce, and GE Aerospace. Lead times for new high-thrust turbofans now stretch between 12 and 18 months. Raw material shortages, limited casting capacity, and skilled labor deficits have throttled engine building facilities. These engine makers must also divide their limited resources between commercial cargo lines and highly profitable passenger or military contracts, further restricting the flow of high-bypass turbofans. This bottleneck means completed cargo airframes regularly sit parked on factory aprons, fully built but unable to fly because they lack power plants. At the same time, the cost of existing engines is skyrocketing. The price of the GE90 family, the sole power plant for the current 777F, has surged 69% since 2022. This severe shortage of engines and assemblies has created a structural lag, meaning any meaningful capacity relief for cargo airlines is measured in years, not months. With new aircraft production stalled, cargo airlines traditionally rely on a backup plan, buying retired passenger jets and converting them into dedicated freighters. But this safety valve is failing. Strong international travel demand has forced passenger airlines to keep their older widebody fleets in service far longer than planned, starving conversion lines of viable donor airframes. The few twin-aisle jets that do reach the secondary market are triggering bidding wars. The half-life value of a Boeing 777-300ER has risen 78% to approximately $47.6 million. For conversion specialists like Israel Aerospace Industries or ST Engineering, this baseline cost makes the math incredibly difficult. A standard passenger-to-freighter conversion typically costs between $75 and $80 million. If the donor aircraft's GE90 engines require overhaul, that price quickly reaches $100 million. These escalating expenses are rewriting the economics of fleet renewal. Cargo carriers cannot easily justify spending $100 million on a converted mid-life aircraft when they are also competing against passenger airlines for scarce spare parts. What was once a reliable, cost-effective way to add cargo capacity has become a financial bottleneck, leaving airlines with fewer options as the retirement cliff approaches. Global shipping demand does not pause. The International Air Transport Association projects global air cargo traffic to grow by approximately 2.6% in 2026, propelled by the rapid expansion of e-commerce, high-value electronics, and time-critical pharmaceuticals. With new-build planes delayed and conversions bottlenecked, operators have no choice but to keep their oldest, least efficient airframes in the sky to meet these commitments. This reliance on legacy equipment carries a heavy price. Operating these older, thirstier planes imposes an extra $4.2 billion in annual fuel expenses across the global cargo network. Cargo carriers cannot absorb these massive penalties. Instead, the multi-billion-dollar fuel penalty feeds directly into higher freight rate pressure, sending the Baltic Air Freight Index steadily upward. For logistics managers and retail giants depending on speed-sensitive service, the aircraft shortage is no longer a distant threat. It has become an immediate daily tax on global trade. Logistics planners and carriers are now operating under a new market logic, where cargo space is a finite resource to be rationed. Freight rates are projected to climb steadily, forcing airlines to prioritize only high-value, time-sensitive cargo. This structural constraint is expected to persist well into the early 2030s, dividing the industry's future into three distinct paths. In the best-case scenario, rapid engine production and an on-time Airbus A350F entry in late 2027 could ease the pressure. The base case, however, projects a prolonged era of systematic space rationing. In the worst case, chronic engine shortages and stalled conversion lines lock the industry into permanent capacity deficits and sustained premium rates. Ultimately, the speed of any global recovery depends on engine manufacturing schedules, conversion capacity, leasing strategies, and regulatory oversight. Shippers must now adapt to an environment where moving goods is no longer about finding the best price, but securing a spot on a plane. Today, the global supply chain hangs on a shrinking fleet we cannot easily replace. As demand surges, this bottleneck in our skies will reshape how the world trades. The era of effortless, instant delivery is officially hitting its limit. Share your thoughts in the comments below.